That's not why people are paying you to be there. Being a great test geek might be connected to how you do great work, but again, your focus needs to be on what's important to the organization. And this is tied into the other thing, the service-oriented outlook. When we look at test teams that really, really have strong support in the organization, they're seen as real winners and valued contributors to the project, almost always what you find is a service-oriented outlook amongst the testers and the test manager, where their thinking is, I am here as a test professional to help my organization succeed, to help my project succeed, to help my team members succeed. I'm here to provide services, testing-related services to stakeholders in this project, in this organization, and that's my focus. And I'm not going to succumb to any temptations to become an obstructionist or to create issues for people. It's all about service, helping people succeed through what I do as a tester. Now, that doesn't mean you do anything they want and anything they ask you. A developer comes to you and says, I want you to cancel those bugs you reported against my product so my personal or my components, so my evaluation gets better next year. Well, no, that's not helpful. Because that doesn't actually solve the problem. The problem is that there's a broken developer evaluation process in the organization, and that needs to be dealt with. That needs to be fixed. But service-oriented outlook is that you really do want to help. So when somebody comes and asks you to do something and it's related to testing, it's within the scope of what you do, and consistent with the other objectives of people, then the answer would be yes, I want to help you with that. Okay, now I don't want to dwell on this too much, but I do want to mention this too, because when you're thinking about instituting a metrics program, you're thinking about objectives. There are the external objectives that your stakeholders, your external stakeholders especially, are going to bring up. I want you to find defects. I want you to build confidence. I want you to reduce risk. I want you to give me information that I can rely on to guide the project. Those are typical objectives. Now, the people saying that, the people giving you those objectives, probably don't care much how you achieve them. Again, they want it to look like it's competently done. There's the elegance factor, but the internal workings to them, it's kind of like for most of us, a vehicle. You sort of know at some level that, all right, there's gasoline or diesel fuel being burned inside of cylinders, and it's making pistons go up and down. That's getting that energy being sent out to the wheels. You have a basic understanding, but as far as could you take apart an engine and understand things that were affecting its efficiency? That's most of us. That's not in the realm of possibility. But as test professionals, we really should understand the engines that drive the effectiveness and efficiency of our test operation, and we should have objectives and metrics and goals related to those, the way the test process works. So let's look at one example, one of possibly many examples that I could choose. Suppose you spend a lot of time doing manual regression testing. Now, manual regression testing is very tedious. It tends to be expensive. Even if you outsource it to organizations like our Software TestWorks facility, of course we're happy to do it for you. But manual regression testing is not cheap. Over time, it tends to become a very large effort because the scope of the project grows. It does tend to be error-prone in many situations. It's easy to make mistakes when you're doing things over and over again. It tends to be slow and often not good for morale. So based on those issues, you say, hey, well, we want to do some automation. We want to automate our regression testing. So again, this is a means to an end. Somebody wants to make sure that we don't have regression risk. Okay, great. We can do that through regression testing, but you've chosen to do it through automated regression testing. So, some things we could look at: percentage of regression tests automated, percentage of regression-related quality risks that are covered, benefit of the automation. These are the effectiveness and efficiency metrics. So, for example, extent of automation, right? So we look at number of automated regression tests divided by the number of manual regression tests plus the number of automated regression tests. So this is our regression test automation metric. Now, beware of fixating on a metric. This is a worst practice of metrics usage. Is you get a metric and you go, whoa, yeah, this is my objective is to pin that guy. I want that metric to be 100%. I want that metric to be 0%. That's often not a good goal, because what again, it's the trade-off between effectiveness and efficiency sort of thing. In this case, it's the what's commonly referred to as the 80-20 rule that kicks in here, which is that the first 20% of your effort gets you 80% of your benefit, and then you expend an enormous amount of effort trying to get that last 20%. You'd be better off just being happy with the 80% that you got easily. Now, I'm not suggesting that 80% is a magic number here, but what I'm saying is that there are certain tests that simply should not be automated for various reasons. Typically, that there's some sort of frequent manual intervention required to keep them running, or there's manual judgment required to actually properly interpret the results. And if those things are true, then there's really not a lot of value in trying to automate it. So be realistic about what your regression test automation target ought to be. Now, also remember, having a really large number of automated tests is not the goal, right? The goal of regression testing is to reduce reduce or maintain at least the level of regression risk within the same or less duration or cost, and as the scope of the product grows, right? So you also want to look at coverage. So you go through, you identify the regression risks as part of your risk-based testing. You identify a set of regression risks, and then you have to look at, well, what percentage of regression risks are covered. Now, here I'm talking both manual and automated regression tests. Okay, but what's important is that your regression risk coverage not actually go down as your automation goes up. Now, that sounds weird, but it can happen. What should actually be the case is that there should be a positive correlation between the regression risk coverage and the regression test automation metric that we talked about on the previous slide. And so, or at the very least, the regression risk coverage should be unchanged, assuming that it was already good and you're happy to just keep it there. Now, many times people want to see automated regression testing make the regression test execution period quicker. Let it be done in a faster period, so it's less likely to interfere with release dates and so forth. So we can measure the time savings. We look at the acceleration of regression testing, or the metric here. Look at the manual duration. So in other words, how long would it take to run all of these tests manually and subtract out the automated regression? That's the net benefit, right? And then divide that by the manual duration to see how we're